Welcome to Hassle-Free RE, the show where we share tips, tricks, and stories from the short-term rental industry and business alike. Hosted by Dave Menapace and Will Van Wickler. They'll help you navigate the exciting and ever-evolving world of short-term rentals. Whether you're a seasoned host or just starting out, they've got something just for you. In each episode, they'll bring you insider insights, expert advice, and real-life stories from hosts and industry professionals who have been through it all. They'll cover everything from maximizing your rental income and profits to creating unforgettable guest experiences and handling unexpected day-to-day challenges with ease. Are you ready to discover the secrets to running a successful short-term rental business without the hassle? Then let's get started. This is Hassle-Free RE.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hassle-Free RE. I'm Dave Menapace, president of the 5-Star Co-host and Launchpad Consulting, here with my man, Mr. Will Van Wickler, New England's #1 short-term rental real estate agent. I keep seeing your name on the Keller Williams list for deals closed, houses under contract, all the things. How you been, man? It's been a week or two.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been busy, but very productive. I see your name everywhere too. You're back on Facebook. It just puts a smile on my face, and you chime into these groups and give people value. It's awesome.
Dude, it's fun. Like, this is what I started out doing in the industry, was just trying to add value where I could and create a network and community of people you can tap into and get value from them when you need it. And yeah, not having Facebook for 8 weeks really kind of makes you appreciate that quite a bit.
It was a long time. And what I think is funny is people forget that part of my journey and your journey of like just giving value and just like being a part of these groups. Now people are just jumping in and they're like wanting to cold call and do all this. But like that was a really big part of building your business.
Yeah, really, for both of us.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm super psyched because today is really all about you. So for our listeners, I bugged Will and was like, I want to talk about you and a lot of the really cool projects that you have going on. So what do I mean by that? Well, for anyone who's been living under a rock, Will has been crushing it with new construction, not just in the mountains, but now starting out in the lakes, lake regions. He's been doing flips, a lot of just really awesome real estate investing, like X's and O's, baby. So I think it's really neat because it's such a compliment to your business as a real estate salesperson. And I kind of wanted to peel the layers back on this a little bit and have you just share what your journey has been like and how you started doing the construction and flips and kind of where you're looking to take it and what challenges you've come across along the way.
Yeah, with no gatekeeping, right? We're going to go into
Right.
everything.
I love it. I love it. And at the end of the day, it'll help other people decide whether this is an avenue of real estate investing they want to pursue or not.
Right. Or even on the purchasing side, determine if new construction's right for them or whatnot. So
Right.
I just think participating in real estate is so important if you're going to be selling real estate or, managing real estate. I think you got to put your money where your mouth is and play the game and jump in. So I spent a lot of time kind of studying, not on the sidelines, but working with builders as their realtor, working with investors, working with flippers, working with buy and hold people doing the BRRRR method, everything. I mean, you've done the BRRRRs, you've done the flips, you've
Several.
done everything, right? And at a certain point, you kind of just have to jump in and figure it out. But the entire time I was selling, I was studying and I was asking questions and I was present. And people will ask me, how'd you learn? And it's just by putting my head up and actually looking and asking questions. So for a couple of years, I was just studying, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I did a couple flips along the way, some success here or there. But about this time last year, I was like, I really want to grow an ancillary business where I either bring units to the market because I know the market so well, I know what would sell, flip property, or do some development opportunities. And, just kind of had to flip the switch one day and we jumped right in, which we'll talk about. But year to date, we'll complete 4 new construction projects, 1 fix and flip, and one small little development, which will be another new construction home. And then on the sales side, we've taken over a couple subdivisions. We're working with a couple new builders. So new construction is a big focus right now.
That is awesome. Now, what would you say? I'll kind of lead by asking different
Yeah.
questions, but what would you say? So you've done several flips, you've done several new construction. What would you say the biggest difference is between the two? And which do you prefer, both as the person managing these projects, but then also as the realtor? Which do you prefer?
Yeah. And for clarity, sometimes I have to slow down and remember the audience might not understand what I'm talking about. When I say new construction, it means as a single person, I'm buying the land, I'm coordinating everything. I am the general contractor. So I hire the framer, the electrician, the plumber, the drywaller, the insulator, the earthwork guy, and coordinate the whole thing, finance the entire project, figure that out. And then on the real estate side, I'm selling the project. So that's what we mean by building, right? I'm not hiring a retail builder and letting them do it. So full-fledged GC. On the flip side, I was finding I had to do all the same work, right? So I was the GC. I had to find the electrician, find the plumber, because in flipping, the margins are a lot tighter. So if you go and hire a general contractor that's going to do everything for you, you're not going to make any money. So I had to get really good at estimating and managing and dealing with that. And then on the sales side, it was very challenging to figure out your ARV, your after repair value, because the market fluctuates, and flipped homes are sometimes a little bit strange or have odd layouts, and that's why we're able to buy them at a deep discount. So I was quickly figuring out with flips, I had little control because I could have this beautiful crystal clear budget. And if anybody knows me, they know I'm on the spreadsheets. I've got everything, X's and O's crossed, everything, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. And I would always get burned a little bit by, we had a flip. Water pipe kind of burst. It was a small leak, not a flood. All the subfloor had to get replaced. That's $8,000 we didn't think about. Or you find something behind a wall and you got to do the right thing, which is how we would flip houses, of making them safe homes. We got to redo some electrical. We would never have control. A lot of the work's hourly or time plus material. So it's hard to understand your exit. Even the best flippers understand that your numbers aren't always what you think going in. So in new construction, what was really appealing to me was I knew exactly where I stood. The only variables I have are what I buy the land for, what my well cost is, and what the earthwork is. Everything else, I know exactly what they are because you have contracts with subcontractors. And then I also understood on the exit, buyers love new construction because they know exactly what they're getting. They have a warranty. They're oftentimes getting a better value, and they can customize it and make it their own home. So today, I'm all about new construction. And unless it's a really good flip opportunity, which we'll kind of talk about, it doesn't really interest me. I like new, I like the asset class, and I like being able to bring new units to the market where they didn't already exist.
Now, this is gold. Now, I'd love for you to give, based on your experience, a suggestion for folks. If you have somebody who, so I've done 4 flips. All of them were a few years ago, right when lumber was really expensive.
And all
Great time to
remote,
do flips.
right?
Yes, I was doing them from 1,000 miles away. All those houses were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I had people down there that I trusted. I only went down there one time to see our very first house out of 8 that we bought down there, and to meet and make relationships. So I went down there for 3 or 4 days. And then I didn't go back for several years later until I was in the short-term rental business and launching a property down there and meeting my team. But here's a question for you. Let's say the area is in New England and somebody's got $250K liquid, and they know that their exit is to sell. Would you suggest to them to try and flip a home, or would you suggest to them to try and do new construction? And let's say they're a realtor like yourself. They've been around, they understand the industry. They might not be in the weeds with construction or new construction, but like they have a good general sense of the industry. Which direction might you push them towards with that kind of startup money?
To me, I would say go partner with a builder and bring value. And that's how I learned, was bringing money to a builder and shadowing, saying, hey, I'll front the lot, right? So I'll purchase the lot I'll put up
Right.
$80,000 of my own money and just let me watch, right? Or for me, one of my really good clients who I hire a lot today, one of my first development clients, this guy Aaron, I would just ask questions and told him my intention. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I'm not trying to compete with you, but this is something I want to do, which I would always explain. It would make me a better broker, right? Because I'd
Right.
understand the process. And learn along the way and ask the questions and ask for help. There's a local gentleman in the Bethel market who has helped a ton with
Yeah.
subcontractor connections. But I would say you got to be careful because you don't want to get hurt, but go partner with somebody on a new construction or even a flip and just bring them value
Yeah.
and ask what you can do to help. To me, if I could go back and redo everything today, it would just be go right into new construction and kind of fast track, get out of the flip game and banging my head up against the wall on the rehabs and go right
Yeah.
to new construction. But it all comes down to knowing your market and knowing how to properly leverage your capital for a project.
Oh, that is gold. That is so good. I would not have considered that. That is awesome. And I will say to echo what you're saying, I remember there's these two houses in Chattanooga that we bought. We bought them in one single purchase, or technically two purchases, but they're
Like
both
that.
with the same owner, bought them at the same time. And we got inspections done on both properties, and I talked to the inspector after. So I wasn't there for the inspection, but I got the inspection report. Thankfully, the inspector was a guy that just loved talking, so he had no problem jumping on a call with me for a couple hours to really systematically go through things, and took videos and texted me those when necessary. So we had a really good sense of each home. To your point, an inspector isn't ripping up busted hardwood floor or LVP or carpet. And what you find behind walls, underneath floors, in attics, around chimneys, it it doesn't end sometimes. Especially the older the home, the more variables usually, right? And so Chattanooga for us was one of those markets where they do have some pretty big fluctuations in temperature, kind of like New England.
Mm.
um Gets very, very dry, it gets very, very humid, it gets very, very cold sometimes. It's wild. And the homes that were 100 years old, all the time you're finding old knob and tube wiring, some of it still live. uh Two layers of subfloor with the bottom totally rotted out, now the top one rotted. Just weird stuff that you're just like, what? And what gets to be really difficult, especially in the beginning, and if you're using hard money, or you have a high
Mm.
interest rate with that construction loan, which thankfully when we were doing this, we were getting hard money loans, construction loans at like 6 or 7%, or now they're easily double that.
So good.
So we had more breathing room. But the amount of times I ran into a situation where it was like, okay, there's actually a leak in the roof. And what we thought was a small floor rot near the toilet, actually, we have to rip up all the floor in the entire bathroom and now into the kitchen. And all of a sudden, what you thought was going to cost 2 grand cost 10. And you have to make some really, really hard decisions. And a lot of flippers fall victim to that sort of decision fatigue, and then just don't end up doing certain things. And when you buy a home that's flipped, if it wasn't done well, you run into a lot of issues. I had it one time as a realtor. It was a condo. It was last year. I'll never forget. It was about a year and a half ago. It was a condo. A client of mine bought it. It was very, 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 very busy time of year. New England in March, April, May. That's peak selling buying season up here. There's about 30 people, 30 offers in. We won, but we had to waive the inspection in order to do it. What happened the day before the walkthrough, or the final walkthrough? We started flushing all the toilets, and water just started draining from the ceiling. And what ended up happening? We waived the inspection. Now, thankfully, the seller ended up, doing like a $10,000 or $15,000 credit, or it all got sorted out. But it was a new flip, and no one did a dummy check on any of the plumbing. So, anyways, these are just the different things. Like you said, there can be variables where when you have control of it from the beginning, you can really go a lot further, a lot quicker.
It's scope creep. That was the biggest challenge for me
Right.
I'm a perfectionist and I like things done the right way, right? So on a flip,
Yeah.
if I pulled all the sheetrock down from the ceiling, would I get more money for it versus just patching it and feathering it in? I wouldn't get more money for it, but the patch and feathering in looks like crap to me, right? So
Yeah.
I'd always want to do it the right way. And I hate to say, if there's beautiful flips that are done the right way, and there's some really high end flippers in our area, it's really hard to make money doing that. And I know some people that run flipping businesses at a high level, and I
Right.
find the most success they have is in lower price points where, they can kind of get away with more cosmetic renovation. And that's really tough as an investor. And I think really, really tough as a first time investor, because unless you're buying these properties at an extremely high discount, which doesn't really exist anymore, or you're in a different market outside of New England, it's hard to make money flipping and the margins are so thin. I would prefer to go into new construction where you have so much more breathing room and it's a lot harder to get hurt, which we'll talk about.
Totally. One thing too is, like you said, they're a lot harder to find.
So
Some of these really big companies, construction companies, flipping companies, wholesale companies, their budget for finding deals can literally be in the six figures per month to find good off-market deals. Um, they employ a lot of people. They do a ton of marketing. There's brand recognition. There's franchise fees a lot of times. There's a lot of money that goes into that. And so if you're starting off, it's easy to jump on bigger pockets and hear, oh, just go wholesale. Think about what the value of your time is. So let's say you normally work a job where you're making $100,000 an hour, right? I'm sorry, $100,000 a year. Your dollar per hour is what? 50 grand, $50 an hour or $60 an hour, somewhere around there, pre-tax maybe. If you start spending an inordinate amount of time trying to find deals, by the time it's all said and done and you flip that one house, your value per hour could be in the single digits, meaning $5 or $6 an hour you just worked. And you could have done that driving an Uber for a little bit. So it's like I always try and get people to like take a huge step back. If you have 80, 100, 200 grand, maybe spend your time going to some meetups and networking with someone in construction and try and put a deal together being the money person so you can learn, just like Will's talking about. So many people get sucked in the weeds because they just want to learn how to do something. But when they actually break it down, they make no money or they actually lose money if they were to pay themselves a respectable wage. And at the end of the day, a lot of times we do this because we're building a legacy. We want time freedom, but we're doing the exact opposite in our pursuit to get that, which isn't the way to go.
right. And it's just time. Time's the most precious asset we have. And I think flipping, it takes a lot more time when you look into it. I mean, I had dinner at one of the KW events with a guy who runs a very successful,
Yeah.
multi-million dollar year net business in the flip category. He has 6 acquisition specialists. They spend $50,000 a month on direct mail. And more than 3/4 of the deals, they end up wholesaling because they're not flippable.
Right.
They're not in the buy box, right? And if you're a new investor, you don't have a very clear criteria, it's a very easy way to get hurt, which we'll we'll leave it at that.
Totally. So let me ask you this. So I know you've done a couple new builds this year, and then you're on your way now with the Norway main builds as well. In talking about the Sunday River ones, how did you go about financing those? Was it your own cash? Did you partner with another person? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. The most frequent ways I see are home equity lines of credit,
Yep.
private mortgages, so hard money as we call it, where you're seeing 10, 12% financing on that,
Yep.
cash, a mixture of the two, or you bring in a partner. I
Hmm.
opted to do the mixture of the hard money and cash, putting
Yeah.
my money out there. The reason I did it this way is I like to keep reserves. So I knew, hey, I could finance the project by myself, right? However, I preferred to leverage the money of a hard money lender, have some of my own money in the deal. And if I need to carry the project after my
Yeah.
6-month hard money loan matures, I can carry it and I don't need to sweat. I could rent it, I could refi it. I could figure it out. And it's just because I was very conservative. I was new at this game. So what I did is I purchased the land in cash. I got the project started with about $50,000 additionally, and then brought in a hard money lender that took first position and financed the project at 12%.
Nice, which is a good rate. And so for a lot of people too, I don't know if this is the case for you. Every time I used hard money, which by the way, you start creating great relationships with lenders and it makes your life so much easier, and they can be very flexible on things. Or if they're trying to get into a market as a lender, I've had some amazing hard money lenders that I've worked with. The all of ours were interest only payments during that time frame, which makes the payment significantly less when you don't have to worry about cracking down your principal in 6 to 12 months. Is that the case for you too?
Yeah. So how I structured the first construction loan and how I structure all my loans today is a 6-month term, and then I prepay all the interest. So if there's a $400,000 loan, I prepaid all the interest. So my closing costs on that $400,000 loan I had was $42,000. But the freedom I had of not having to stress about, even though the money's there, pulling out the checkbook and making these interest only payments, having to worry about it. It's, hey, the work's been done. I'd like another draw, please. You're going to get all of your money up front for interest, and then you're going to get your money back at the end. And trust me, that hard money lender had a smile on their face because, hey, it's the first project. Yes, I have a track record, but there's some risk involved. So being able to do that with a lender, that's my tip for anything, is if you can prepay your interest, I would absolutely do it and not have to worry about calculating the interest only payments and all that. But it was interest only, about $42,000 for the use of that capital with a couple points, paid at closing, and then draws. So they break it up in a couple different draws. You have your draw 1 for your earthwork and excavation, draw 2 framing, so on and so forth. That way you're not too far ahead of the game.
I love it. Yeah. And the other cool thing about it too is usually when they're going to disperse money to you, they do some level, at least for us, they always did some level of an inspection.
Yep.
And, it costs maybe 150 or $200, at least for the ones we were doing, to get that inspection done. But I loved it because when I was 1,000 miles away from the project, paying $200 for somebody to walk the home, inspect what's supposed to be done based on what the builder has told you, or the contractor has told you, and then have somebody give it their seal of approval, told me, cool, we're good. If they didn't do that, like if there was ever an issue, which luckily there never was, you can go back to the builder and say, hey, we can't continue with this project because you haven't done what you said you were going to do, and you haven't done it the right way, and the lender's not going to release any more money. So kind of figure it out if you want to keep working together. So
great point.
It
was accountability of telling these guys, like, hey, I have a lender on this, and the faster we work, the faster we all get paid. I'm going to pay you right when I can and right when you're done, but just know you have to be 100% done, because I've got somebody actually checking this stuff, and it's not like, we're good buddies, we've worked together a long time, and we got to make sure it's 100% complete before a check goes out. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned, I'd say, is actually making sure stuff is getting done 100% of the time, because these guys are really good at 95, 96, 97%. It's the final push to get it 100% done with everything.
Right. I love it. So, talk to us about the Norway Lake, because I think how you acquired that property or that land is super, super cool. And honestly, I think that is going to become a neat little spicy hidden market that not a lot of people are talking about. So why don't you share a little bit about that area, the location of it, and then let's talk about the newest deal that you're bringing to life.
Yeah. So on the sales side, I have a really exciting subdivision we brought on the market. It's 9 lots on Norway Lake, which is, if you don't know about Norway, it's a really quaint little downtown. They have a brewery, pizza place. I mean, it's super cool. If you're driving up to Sunday River, it's about 35, 45 minutes away. It's an awesome little town. And there's this beautiful Pennsylvania Lake, Norway Lake, which is the largest in the area, great water quality, everything, where beautiful homes have existed for years, but there's no new construction on lakes anywhere. It's so hard to find. These developers came in, miraculously got 9 lots approved, 4 being waterfront, 5 being inland. I was selected as their broker of choice for the project, which is awesome. And through that and through relationships, and and being out there and selling, other opportunities start to pop up. So for that project, we have 4 new construction builds going on the lake, which I think are going to be amazing short-term rentals because you get the winter and summer traffic there. And then separately, I recently acquired a piece of land on North Pond, which is the smaller lake in Norway. Still very comparable in quality and everything, where we will be doing a new construction spec house, breaking ground shortly for delivery in the spring and summer, which will be a very appealing price point and I think great rental returns as well.
So how did the financing of that plot of land go? Because I thought this was super cool and creative as well from the guy that sold it to you.
Yeah. So the guy who's a local builder, he knows the market well. He said, "Will, what's this worth?" I said, "Probably about 230." He said, "Yep, I would agree." He said, "Would you want to partner in a build?" I just said, the numbers are a little too tight to partner in the way he wanted to do it. And he respected that, right? I'm never going to try to smoke and mirror somebody, but I said, "Here's what I'll do. I'll pay you full market value with no, commission involved, right? And what I'd ask you is you hold paper on the land. So you hold the land, you deed it to me, you give me 12 months to build on it. At the end, I'm going to give you $257,000. So you take your 230, let's add 12%. And that's the number I'm going to give to you at the end for holding the land. So you're getting the 12%. I'll pay you at the end, and you're going to hold paper on the land. The day I close on the spec house is the day you get paid. The benefit for me is I don't need to come up with $250,000 to build on this property. I can leverage that. And that's a really, really good way. If you have a landowner who maybe is patient, maybe they'll take a little bit more money. And to me, as the builder and investor, I don't mind paying more money because I would have to pay interest on that amount anyway, right? Especially for a project like that, you have $250,000 tied up in dirt. I could take that $250,000 and I could build 3/4 of the house with it. So that was a kind of a creative finance deal that we worked out that was a total win-win.
Oh, I love that. That is awesome. Whoops, one of my lights went out here. That is fine. But I think that's really neat. And that's really the power of creativity in real estate investing. You know what I mean? It's how creative can you be? How can you find a win-win for everybody? And the third player that's going to win in this is whoever buys that home, because you showed me a comp the other day and they hit like 120K revenue on that same pond or lake. And the other thing about Norway, folks, is okay, so it's about a half hour from Sunday River. That means it's a half hour closer to Portland. So it's less than an hour to Portland, Maine.
You got it.
Which also means it's closer to like 2.5 hours from Boston, where Sunday River is about 3 hours, 15 minutes, 3 hours, 15 minutes from Boston. So for anyone that's going up that way, right, it's a little closer to things, and not far from the casino in Oxford, right there, maybe 20 minutes. So there's actually that's why I said it. I think it's a sneaky, cool little market that once a few people who know what they're doing actually start advertising it on Airbnb and VRBO and all the things, you're going to find, I think, more people starting to get attracted to some lakes like that. Because I also think, when you start looking at Sebago Lake and Winnipesaukee, the two biggest ones in New England, the ADR on those houses is so high that really a vacation is unachievable for somebody on some of those lakes, depending on what part of the lakes they want and if they want lakefront. So I'm super excited because I think the buyer of that house is also going to be the third winner in this whole game.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think it kind of transitions to like the point I wanted to make about finding your focus. So for me, and in any investment, for me, the focus has been second homes and the second home markets and vacation property. And it's simply because I know that the best. I know what they'll sell for. I have the buyers for it, and I understand exactly what they want. And I'm able to leverage my connections to build the product that I want to sell. And when I'm passionate about it, could sell anything, right? And give buyers a really, really good value. So picking my first project, I did it in a market I was familiar in, which was Bethel. I found the right lot for the right price, and I dove in. I had the right subcontractors, and we were able to give the buyer a really good product at a really good price and have equity at closing, which is what we're always shooting for in these projects, is not to get overly greedy, but just to bring a really good product to the market at a fair price that's going to sell quickly and keep people lining up. So that's been the focus, is second home. So whatever you decide to do is just pick the focus and just run with it and know your numbers so well that you can't fail.
Right, right. So here's a question for you as we kind of start to wrap this up. I've no doubt that you're going to hit your goal this year of 4 or 5 new construction, and then you have had several flips as well. What's kind of the goal for next year? Are you going for quantity? Are you maybe instead going just for like bigger homes that are more expensive? Maybe a mixture of both? What's kind of your goal for 2025?
Yeah, great question. So I was looking at my whiteboard, our pipeline for new construction. So we've got 3 projects already set, pieces of land that are going to be built on and delivered next year. My goal is to hit 5 or 6 units and not play the kind of the volume game, just really create inventory for the market in areas that need it in the second home category. So that's the focus, really focusing on the $400,000 to $800,000 price point. That is the bread and butter. It's what moves the quickest. It's the best value for the consumer. And also it's the highest margin for me as the general contractor. And also that's where I like to sell, right? So if I can bring these opportunities to clients, it's just another value proposition to work with me in the sales business where we can put these packages together and create happy consumers. So that's the goal, is 5 to 6 units. And I think we'll definitely hit that. And what's kind of cool is one of those projects is actually a lot split off of the last fix and flip I did. So we're able to kind of carve some land off of that. And that's one of the pieces of land, which is awesome.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Well, Will, you're always bringing value. Always. How can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, willvanwickler.com. You can reach out, book a call with me, and I'm an easy guy to reach. You might hear me driving, but I'm always paying attention to you, and we're always on the move, just looking for opportunity. And I think that's the thing, is there's a lot of options. I don't do this to compete with my clients or anything like that, but we've got tools in the toolbox, and I think working with somebody who has the experience in construction is it's valuable, whether it's me or somebody else. And we've also done some kind of cool collaborations with Dave's company. So if you want to talk about that, there's options.
Sure.
But Dave, you've got a lot of cool stuff going on, man. You've got a class coming
Yeah.
up I want people to know about, and you're crushing that.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, we got a couple cool things. So actually this week specifically, uh on Wednesday, the 30th, we're doing a short-term rental safety course for people. Now, this is not to get certified in anything. It's more just to bring awareness to the importance of short-term rental safety. I went out to lunch the other day with a friend of mine, and a friend of his whom was in the realty executives world, the broker I used to be with. That person's daughter recently died at an Airbnb.
Oh my
There
God.
was her daughter, her husband, and son were at an Airbnb. I'm not sure exactly where. The services were actually just this week, and there was a fire at the Airbnb, and his daughter and his granddaughter both passed away. The son and the husband and the son both got out. And, I wish that was a unique story, and it's not, and I think that, um, unless we get some level of deep awareness or regulation as it relates to short-term rental safety, I think a lot of folks are going to start going back into the commercial space, going back to hotels, because there's consistency and accountability there where you don't have that as much in the short-term rental space, kind of in the Wild West. So our focus, a big mission of ours, both at the 5-Star Co-host as well as Launchpad Consulting, is to get eyes on this topic and have everyone be good stewards of home safety, short-term rental safety. So that's one class we got. That's going to be tomorrow. And then on Thursday, the 31st, specifically for our Sunday River owners, we're doing a revenue management course. A lot of what's been happening is investors, buyers, homeowners, specifically ones that don't live in New England at all, have been outsourcing their revenue management, which I'm not against. I think the topic that the practice of revenue management is incredibly important. So much so that we do it twice a week in our portfolio for every single home. A lot of people, though, it's a black hole. They outsource their revenue management, and then they wonder why their results are worse than when they started after we launched them. So our houses have been crushing it against the market with significantly higher occupancy. And we have about 12 houses up there. This is specific for chalets, not slopeside condos, which are more of like a hotel type of situation. So we're doing a half-hour revenue management course, and I'm super excited to bring that knowledge to everybody because I think it's needed. It's going to help empower homeowners, and it's going to show them what it takes to have a top performing property in the market as we sit here towards the end of 2024. So I love this stuff. Teaching is my favorite. So I'm super excited for those.
I can't wait, man. I look
Gonna be
forward to
good.
being there, and thanks for bringing all that to the people.
Of course, of course. Well, with that, Will, my man, we'll sign off, and I'll see you next time.
Catch you next week.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Hassle-Free RE. We hope you found today's tips and stories as inspiring and useful as I did. Remember, success in the short-term rental industry is all about learning, adapting, and staying one step ahead. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review or comment on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you. Plus, we'd love to hear your thoughts and any topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And follow us at Hassle-Free RE on social media for more tips and updates. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep it hassle-free.